you doing, my friends? Well, it seems like a long time. I'm not tying my soul to the downward grind.
Well, hello and welcome into a very special edition of Tony Talks Trash About Music. And today I'm going to be tackling somebody that's very important to me. I guess all these I say that, but this is Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. This is the big one. Probably, I would say, as far as collected bands go, being a collector of, I was really kind of crazy about it at one time. I had all the 45s and everything. I got rid of those. I think I told you guys a little bit of that along the way, a little bit about my tale of moving out to law school and having them, some of them damaged when we had an accident with the truck, but it wasn't an accident with the truck. We just had the truck just broke down. But in any event, I'm counting down the Beach Boys records, and I'm going to count down all the studio records. We're talking about the band from Hawthorne, California. I don't have to get into the long of it. You guys know how many millions of hits they've had, millions of records that they've sold. Their ubiquitous nature here, the July the 4th concerts at the Washington Monument, which by the way, I might add, my band actually won one of the contests with DC 101. We actually had our time on that stage, not with them, but we had it in the summertime, and it's really interesting. It's basically broadcast off into nothing. When we had it there, I guess we had, I don't know what year it was. It was in the summer of the sometime in the early 80s. And we had probably 25 or 30,000 there, but I couldn't even imagine having the amount of people the Beach Boys had. Hey, it's just crazy. But it was a big contest, and I'm actually cutting this July the 4th here today. I had an idea like, well, let's go ahead and do this. I can't think of a more American, so to speak, band. And with the way everything's going now, it's time to appreciate the great band and try to appreciate the great sounds of Brian. Unfortunately, Brian, as we know from the documentary and my other video on the documentary, Brian has had a lot of problems and is kind of needs a conservatory and stuff now that Melinda has died. His wife died, and Beach Boys are kind of in a different state at this point. They've really kind of been fragmented like that. Everybody knows they started out, they went between Al Jardine originally and David Marks. David Marks took over at the beginning when Al Jardine came back in the band. He really carried the flag all the way through. I mean, there have been some periods of time where some people have been in and some people have been out, but it was Carl, Brian, and Dennis, Mike Love, and Al Jardine basically was the main gist of the band. Enter Ricky Fattar, and forget the other guy's name, and in the middle of the 1970s, actually the beginning of 1970s, they were in the band for a while and really added another dimension to the band. I think at that point they kind of played out all the Smile stuff where they felt they could, and they really needed a new go for it. Oh, I just showed you a record from yesterday. Blondie Chaplin, of course. Blondie and Ricky, of course. And they went for a little while, and then the greatest hits thing explodes. And then the greatest hits thing explodes in the 70s, and then you've got him, going out. And that was really the birth of Mike Love's dream of playing all the hits all the time. And really kind of, they'd always try to get other things in. But from time to time, it was just a kind of a futile effort because, once those hits got so big, they really didn't have, other than maybe Kokomo, which isn't really I don't consider really a Beach Boys song, but other than that, they really never had another really big hit after that time. They made some great singles in the 70s and in the 80s, really good songs. And we'll talk about some of those. But, and then in the end, there's a live band and you've got John Calso up there singing and playing drums now and kind of doing Dennis's part. And then you've got Jeffrey Foskett, who came from Brian's band and kind of integrated himself in. And, all sorts of different folks. Let me see who else they say on here. Of course, Glenn Campbell. My guy Glenn Campbell came out and took the reins for a while before Bruce Johnston joined. And he was one. And you look all the way and you've got some other members here that were there for a short while. You have Mike Love the whole time. You've got Carl Wilson, Blondie Chaplin, Al Jardine, David Marks, Brian Wilson, Dennis, of course, Ricky Fattar. Ricky Fattar, what they say is about 1972 to about 74, the beginning of it, I guess, when that big stuff hit. David Marks, of course, they only have him in the beginning to about 1964 or 5. And then I guess he came back again when they had the reunion in 2012. But don't forget Daryl Dragon, and Dennis Wilson and Rumbo, that great single. That's a great single. Tony Tennille was in the band. Billy Hinch, of course, from the Association. And Hal Blaine, of course, and the great John Stamos on drums. Saxophonist Charles Lloyd too played with them, which is kind of amazing given his high station in the jazz world. But let's get to it, man. I've wasted enough time on this. This is a long list. I'm going to start with, believe it or not, a trio of records that I don't have on vinyl, and we're not going to have too much of a problem. We only have one other issue on that the whole rest of the way. At number 29, I'm talking about the complete disaster on every analysis in every world of Summer in Paradise. Summer in Paradise was a record that was released in 1992, August 3rd, 1992. They released a single of Hot Fun in the Summertime, Surfing. The problem is the drum sound. Terry Melcher produced this record and it had a big drum sound on the whole thing, too big. It swallowed the whole record. And you had this terrible rap and all this other stuff. You can see a million videos on it. I just saw one that Classic Rock, I think, put out this week on it, and kind of trying to revisit it here. But Walking in the Sand is terrible. Lahaina Aloha is really bad, and the version of John Stamos butchering Dennis's Forever is unforgivable. This record is it's astonishing that it could go this far and nobody stopped him. And Brian, of course, had nothing to do with it. That's long beyond the days of Carl and Dennis, too. And I don't really see even Al with this, to tell you the truth. I think Al comes in on vocals on some, but they said he was in and he was out. They used some of Carl's vocals, but it was towards the very end there, but just an absolute disaster. Let's go on now to 28. 28 is another one here that I find extremely weird, and that's Stars and Stripes. This Stars and Stripes record was released on Capitol Records. Let's see where we get here. Hold on a second here. Nothing but a bevy of country stars singing Beach Boys songs. The one thing that the Beach Boys are very well known on and known for here, Stars and Stripes, it's called Volume 1, as if they threatened to do a second version of it. But you got Don't Worry Baby, Little Deuce Coupe 409, Be True to Your School, Help Me Ron, The Warmth of the Sun, Toby Keith, Willie Nelson even on it. Timothy B. Schmidt doing a decent version of Caroline No. But do we need this? We don't need this. We don't need this. It's one of these crossover country Stars and Stripes things. I saw a couple of those, like I think there's a restoration. There's another one I bought on VC vinyl that's just, to me, they really don't work. And so that's going to be 1.5 stars, Stars and Stripes at number 28. Number 27 I have is a record that I thought had at least a couple decent songs on it, released in 1989, Still Cruising. And the only songs that are any good on it to me are the ones involved with Brian. The one from Lethal Weapon, Still Cruising, terrible. The funny thing of it is that the second song, Somewhere Near Japan, is so lame, but at the same time, you kind of like it. Island Girl is not very good. In My Car, fantastic. There's your Brian song. Sounds like it could have been on one of the Brian solo records. Wipeout wasn't good. Make It Big, from True Beverly Hills. I mean, it's just a bunch of stuff from different mixes and stuff plugged in. It really was a record that they wanted to make, to put Kokomo on, really. And that was on here. And say what you will about it, and I won't say much about it. Kokomo was huge, but and really brought him back, but it was just not the kind of thing that really did any help their legacy. I guess Mike Love and Bruce would say, yeah, it reduced, it increased their staying power. But to me, it reduced the quality of the profile. So what's the trade-off there? I mean, they tried it. Even worse is they tried it with Summer in Paradise and failed. I mean, that's really bad. But anyway, that's what we got, and that's number 28. And now let's get to the vinyl ones that I have. I'm going to put at number 26, a record that after Brian returned from one of his hiatuses here, trying to keep the summer alive. This record was released in 1980 on Brother Records. distributed by CBS. When girls get together, Schoolboy, Sunshine. You might. What's really kind of funny is if you see the video, there's a promotional video of there when they're playing, and Brian, you can see they're playing the song Sunshine, but even on the chorus, Sunshine, Brian comes in late trying to play piano. Going on is beautiful. Going on is the stuff that the family vocals were made of. There's really nothing else on this. Oh darling, oh, some of your love is weak. Keeping the summer alive when they get together, the ice cream weather. It's just, I don't know, man. Too much Mike Love influence. Can I blame everything bad on Mike Love? I don't want to. I'm sorry. This is number 26, Keeping the Summer Alive from 1980. Let's go at another modern record after this, 1985's, produced by Culture Club's Steve Levine, the Beach Boys, self-titled. We call it Beach Boys 85 here. Get You Back. Good song, good single. It's getting late. Good vocal for Carl. After that, it just falls apart. A Matter of Time is okay, but again, it's a cover. She Believes in Love Again is decent. You've got a picture of Brian on here, but truthfully, he's not. 3 years later, his solo record would just blow this completely out of the water. He looks weird with his on the here with this picture of his beard and his Hawaiian shirt. Isn't that weird? He's like slouched down. I don't know if like he got superimposed in there or what. Maybe it's not even real. But the worst thing of all is California calling. You know, totally. They talk about being totally rad and how to ride the ultimate wave. It's California calling, a typical Mike Love song that does nothing but smash and cheesify the catalog. Still at 2 stars. Let's go to 2.5 for a record that's really not needed, although I guess it's fun to some extent. And that is Beach Boys Party. Beach Boys Party here, released right on the eve of some of the good stuff. You've got the orange soda in the middle on the thing. I don't know if I have this is the one with the cards. I have the cards. I don't know if yeah, I think it is. There's something in here. Yeah, there they are. You get these cards inside, and really interesting, huh? Really nice. Some of them were taped up, but you got pictures of Mike Love, eating potato chips, and it's okay. It kind of brings a lighter mood to things here. You got Holly Gully, I Should Have Known Better, Tell Me Why, all these covers, Beatles covers. Barbara Ann really being the big hit, but it was a fun record. It was 1965, and that's what it was. I forget these years. I don't have the years on all these records. I'm not going to look at these. I guess I can here as we go by. Maybe I should to clue you guys in case you guys don't know. But I think the most important thing here is kind of where the whole thing comes in. 15 big ones. This is the first one after the Endless Summer thing. What happens is the Beach Boys are kind of fading out with Holland and stuff. They're kind of fading, and then all of a sudden comes this big hit with Endless Summer, and they're playing Sheds, and they have a number 1 record again on their old songs. So what do, they don't know what to do. They go back in the studio. Brian's not really in great shape, but what do? They go ahead anyway and put something out, and you've got Chapel of Love, TM song, that same song. Brian does a thing on Saturday Night Live where he's they push him out in the water, and it's horrifying to him. A year later, he was horrified by it. But you've got good stuff on here. Like there's a cover of Just Once in My Life, the Righteous Brothers. I think it's really good. Susie Cincinnati, one of the various versions of that's good. Back Home, good. Rock and Roll Music, it's okay. But it really feels like a half-hearted thing. This is not. Here's some pictures from the Renaissance, I suppose, if that's what you want to call it. I did not rate that in here. It's hard to rate something like Endless Summer. I mean, it was such a huge record, but we're going to go and rate 15 big ones at 23, 2.5 stars. Just Brian really in pretty bad shape. His vocals in bad shape, and you can see that here. Now let's move on to number 22, which is actually, I like some of the songs on this record, the MIU record, even though Al Jardine took everybody over to the place. He and Ron Altabach were the ones that produced this record. This record was the executive producer, of course, Brian Wilson, which basically meant he paid for it, I guess. But She's Got Rhythm is on. It Come Go With Me. Hey Little Tomboy, which is a disaster. Everybody knows those are the type of most inappropriate lyrics you could possibly have. Won't You Come Out Tonight's okay, but there's some good songs. Or there's a couple point songs here at the end of the record that I think are special. I'm talking about My Diane, which is actually about Diane Revelle, sister of Marilyn. So, and it talks in here about she did all the coordination here. So for the deal. So figure that out. Then you got Match Point of Our Love, which I think if it was not done in the way it was, is a beautiful melody. It's kind of done with the disco thing. I just think the melody, da na 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 na, da na 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 na, match point. I just think it's a nice song. And then you cause Winds of Change, which has really got some nice harmony, a la the old stuff, the old acapella stuff. So some reasons for hope with this record. At number 22, that is the MIU record, and I'm not sure if I could see what year this one came from. Let me just do it this way. It'll be easier. 1978. I knew it was right about the time, 78, 79. Here we go. Let's go way back now, and let's go to number 21, which is Little Deuce Coupe, and we're talking about the record from 1963, Shut Down, Battle of Old Betsy, Be True to Your School, Cherry Coupe. This is a mono version, of course. Young Man Is Gone, a beautiful acapella there thing. Custom Machine, nice art car club. Really songs based around the cars. You know, you had the beach ones, you had the car ones. This is one of the ones that's there. Kind of the big hits, 409 on it and such too. Good record, but not something that I listen to a whole lot. I don't have need to listen for those. It's kind of a niche thing. Those car songs are great for what they are, and I imagine at the car shows and such, they crank it up here. Let's go to number 20 and switch gears and go the other direction to the Serpent song, Serpent Safari. This is actually the first record, and this is a mono version with 10 Little Indians. I remember that single. That was hard to find when I got that one a long time ago. I like some of the songs on this. It's kind of interesting. The shift, Heads You Win, Tails I Lose, Surfing, Chug-a-Lug, County Fair. Interesting, naive, interesting. There's the picture of the place they got back together at the reunion where they have the Woody. They're in their little Woody there. That's what they call it. Actually, I don't think it says wood. It doesn't have wood paddles on it. But anyway, it doesn't look like it does. But anyway, let's go now to the next record. And I normally don't put these in the countdown, but I'm going to do it anyway in this time because it's so damn good. The Beach Boys Christmas album, number 19, Little Saint Nick, the man with all the toys, even Santa's beard. You know, it's kind of annoying. I want to meet Santa. But there's something about it that I like this. I guess I listened to it a lot, you know, for years. My parents didn't have it. It wasn't the kind of thing, but my dad probably would have liked it because he loved he was a big fan of the High-Lows and the Four Freshmen. Oh my God, he had a Four Freshmen records like that. So, you know, when I heard the Beach Boys, very familiar to me. That's why it struck a chord in me. My dad had me prepared for it. Frosty the Snowman, of course. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Great Christmas album. Everybody should have this. This is number 19. I can't rank it any higher because it is a Christmas album. Let's go to number 18 and stay in the surfing one. And this is the one with Finders Keepers. About the He went out and just a crazy ho dad. Oh, that's a funny song. I like it. No Surfer, Honky Tonk One, Surfing Jam, Farmer's Daughter, of course, redone by Lindsey Buckingham and the Fleetwood Mac. Shut Down is on this too, which surprisingly, you know, on a surfing record it is. But hey, Surfing USA, this is a great one. Number one record here on Capitol. Let's go. And the song, Let's Go. And then they put the tremolo on Trippin'. Anyway, that is number 18. Wonderful. Okay, now I'm going to get to the other one that I do not have. And we're going to talk about it here. And that's 2012's Comeback. That's Why God Made the Radio. I have it on CD. I have it on the digital download. I did not buy it on record when I should have, and I didn't. And I don't have it, and I'm bummed because it's like $100 and some now. Anyway, Pacific Coast Highway, just fantastic. You've got the Private Life of Bill and Sue, Strange World, Summer's Gone. Think About the Days and the single. I think the single's great. A lot of people thought it was kind of cheesy. I think the harmonic shifts and the shifts in the song, the writing of the song. Yes, you had the Hot Fun in the Summertime little the triplet thing going, but really, Fantastic. Daybreak Over the Ocean, really being probably one of the worst songs on it. Again, it's a Mike Love thing. But the rest of the songs, all, even the ones that Mike sings, like Spring Vacation, Beaches in Mind, a little less. That's kind of the weak toward the end of side one. But I mean, side two is just Shelter. It's really, really great. Japanese Edition had some bonus track, had a bonus track of Do It Again, and then they had another version of it out later, which came out with a bonus 50th anniversary collection of stuff. But that's why God Made the Radio, number 17. What a way to go out, man. I mean, way better than anybody expected, way less control, way less cheeseball. We all feared Still Cruising or Summer in Paradise Part 2, and it didn't happen. Let's go on to the next record, and that is number 16. Won't you come here and stay, Lady Linda? L.A. Light Album. I like this record. This record has a lot of weird stuff in it. It's got the disc. It's got shortened bread on it. It's got the weird version of Here Comes the Night, the disco version, which is really odd. But it's got beautiful stuff like Baby Blue and Going South, and one of my all-time favorite Carl songs, maybe my favorite Carl song, Full Sail. When you have those nautical sounds going off, the ding doo doo, and I think it's great. Good Timing is another great. They made a lot of great singles during this period of time. They always had the group sings too. And this is another great one. Angel Come Home, of course, a Dennis, great song. Love Surrounds Me, good. Sumahama, not bad for Mike Love song. So all in all, this is a promo copy of it. LA Light album. I like it. I think it's some people don't like it. I think it's really good. And it's one of the best records that those guys made. That record, and let's get the year on. I think it's 1979, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm right. It's 1979. Okay, let's get down to number 15 here, and we're talking about the great Surfer Girl. And yes, you're looking at the writing on it, but this is to do with the writing of Jackie Graham here. But you've got a nice mono copy. It's beautiful. Catch a Wave, The Surfer Moon, South Bay Surfer, Hawaii, of course. Vocals really developed here. They really got better. You've got some throwaways like Boogie Woogie and Your Summer Dream and The Rockin' Surfer, but for the most part, South Bay Surfer. These are all strong songs. Little Deuce Coupe, Surfing Girls. About half of these are singles here. So how can you not put it this high? This is number 18, probably the best of the surfing records, in my opinion. Surfer Girl, and of course, it's got that great song. I mean, that conveys a hell of a lot more than surfing, that's for sure. Now let's move on to number 14. We're getting the 3.5 star range here. Let's talk about an anomaly here. Talked about Ricky Fattar and Blondie Chaplin joining the band here. This is a 1972 record called Carl and the Passion, So Tough. Here is the single version of this put out, Luia, in England. As far as the record goes, You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone. Here She Comes. Marcella, which is a beautiful single. Really great. And Cuddle Up, which is one of Dennis's great ballads. All This Is That is probably the best thing that Mike Love ever wrote. Beautiful, beautiful song about meditation. Gorgeous changes. Super. And you got Hold On Dear Brother, which is kind of it's a flame song. Those guys came from a band in South Africa that were actually signed on the Beach Boys label, Brother Records, called Flame. That's kind of where they came. They incorporated them into the band. But the interesting thing about this record is this record was released. Why it was done this way, I'm not sure. But it was done in this country. It was released as a twofer with Pet Sounds. The interesting thing about this is that Pet Sounds, of course, and you've got the inside, which is looking like the back of the other two records here. But the truth of this is that it's just a strange combination. A lot of people said that this was the best version of Pet Sounds ever. What they did was they cleaned it up. They used the original mono, and they did some extra EQing to it. So I guess that's called a new cut. But there are many people that say this is the best version of Pet Sounds. I do have another version of Pet Sounds from this that actually was from that release, and I've got a single. They released it singly also in the United States at that time. A real oddity, a real decent record, and an interesting record to contrast. It's probably stylistically one of the more different ones. That and Holland are probably the two more stylistically different ones of the whole catalog. But let's go to the best car record now. Shut Down Volume 2. Pom, 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 play. Pom, pom, play, girl. I love that. That's great. This car of mine, Shut Down Part 2, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Warmth of the Sun here really sets us apart. The Warmth of the Sun is a composition on another level. This is a Keep an Eye on Summer. It's got throwaways like Louie Louie and Denny's drums. But as far as Don't Worry Baby, Shut Down Part 2 is great. This car of mine, Pom Pom Playgirl, fun, fun, fun. Of course, huge. So this was the big one. But the Warmth of the Sun, Don't Worry Baby, and fun, 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 and Pom Pom Playgirl to me keep this above. There are some throwaways here, so maybe that's one to reconsider here. But I've got Shut Down Volume 2 at number 13. Let's go to number 12, and now we're talking about the aforementioned trip to Holland. Everybody decided, Jack Riley, the bunch, managed them. Let's go to Holland. Let's go record over there. We can do something interesting. So what does Brian Wilson do? Brian Wilson listens to Randy Newman's Sail Away and then comes up with this weird thing called I've got it right here. Mount Vernon and Fairway. And this is a white label, of course. But this is him talking in a fairy tale voice. This is of everything ever done. And I know a lot of stuff is bizarre. Look at this. This is it. Magic Transistor Radio. When you hear Pied Piper, better get back in bed. This is during the time about in the bed scene. This is something, man. You need to get this and hear it. It's amazing that it made it out so people could buy it. Love it. It's such an oddity. The record, how does the record fare? Well, you're talking about the Trader leaving this town. Ricky Fataar's beautiful song, Leaving This Town, a gorgeous song. Carl Wilson, Trader, great vocals of Carl on this. California Saga, Funky Pretty. Okay, California Saga is kind of a thing that they put together. On My Way to Sun. It's kind of nice. But Dennis has Steamboat and has a steamboat thing at the end and With You. But Leaving This Town is just beautiful. And Funky Pretty, of course, is a single, and the big one, Sail On Sailor, which I guess Brian didn't really end up liking. It sounded like to me they had a committee of people, Van Dyke Parks, etc. Everybody got together and they said, okay, let's make this single. One of these things that they made. Hey, we need a 45 on this thing. So they did it. It's an interesting record. It's a different sound. The addition of Fataar and Chaplin really making a big difference. I love it. I think it's the best thing that they did. There's a couple down parts on it. To me, the Saga is okay, but the rest of it is very, very strong, and I think it's underrated. I don't think there's anything that's really, sails above everything, but the consistency of it all with Trader and Leaving This Town probably being the peak. And depending on how you feel about Sail On Sailor. But a very strong record, but a very expensive record to make. And in the end, what they were trying to do was capture something new. And this was right before, as a reward of this, what happens? They come home and endless summer breaks. And next thing you know, they're back on top. Very confused, going over here and having difficulties with this record and getting this thing done. And Brian turned it into such a weird thing. And that's how it worked. All right, let's go on now. Let's get into the fun stuff. Are you ready? We're getting on the really edge. We're now to number 11. And this number 11 is the Beach Boys' puzzling but brilliant Wild Honey Soul Experiment from 1967, right after Smiley Smile. I thought it was the beginning of 68, but actually 67. What I love is I Was Made to Love Her. The version of Stevie Wonder is pretty good. The problem is it has a thinness to the sound. And some of the vocals in this are just a little bit surprising. I mean, some of it kind of sounds, when you hear it, you're not prepared for it. Wild Honey's decent. There's a certain lack of the production in this, the breath, since they did it at home. It's a little softer. It doesn't feel as professional. It takes a while to get used to. It doesn't sound like one of the big productions. Aren't You Glad? Great song. Country Air, great song. A Thing or Two's funny. I'd love just once to see you in the nude on this, which is another bizarre moment of Brian. Here Comes the Night, the original version before they rediscoed it there, like I said, on LA. Let the Wind Blow, How She Boogalooped, it was good. And then you've got the end of Mama Says, Eat a lot, sleep a lot. Everybody's heard that one. Acapella thing. And of course, the brilliant, brilliant Darling. Well worth anybody getting. Number 11, if you're expecting another Smile or something like that, you might be disappointed, but they jerk you in a whole new direction and show you where they're coming from. Beautiful art cover. Cover art here with this, with the stained glass and the bee and such. Let's move on now, and we are ready for what? We're ready for dun 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 dun. It's the top 10 time. And let's go to the best 10 Beach Boys records, in my opinion. Dun 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 dun. Let's start out with 1965, On the Verge of Turning the Corner. Summer Days and Summer Nights, the last vestige of the themes that they built their money on. The summertime, the waves, the sands, the cars. Girl from New York City, Amusement Park, USA, Then I Kissed Her, Salt Lake City. That was one of the rare singles. It's hard to get a Salt Lake City one. Help Me Rhonda, of course, was the big hit with this one. Girl, Don't Tell Me, just showing a complete maturity level. You know, we put that on one of the car records. There was records, Cars and Surfs in one. What is going on? Then you've got the unbelievable California Girls that Brian Wilson said he came down and did. Let Him Run Wild. And Your Dream Comes True. The beginning, the beautiful a cappella song. The instrumental, Summer Means Good, New Love. Sort of a foreshadowing of what's going to happen on Pet Sounds and what's going to happen on some of these other records that are more mature and have a wider breadth of moving. Let's move on to the record 1971, released with some fragments from the aforementioned Smile thing that happened and didn't happen by this time. Later on it happened, and I did not count that. If I did count it, it would be number one, but it's not a record, and it's not proper to do that. So let's go to what I would consider number 9, Surfs Up. Surfs Up is 1971. The thing that holds us back from going further is the student demonstration time. It's kind of, the lyrics are kind of cliched and don't go near the water a little bit much, as far as the lyrics go. But Long Promised Road Gray, Take a Load Off Your Feet is okay. Disney Girls is decent. WildFlow's, though, superior. Day in the Life of a Tree with Jack Riley singing it is stunning. I mean, his voice and the way he attacks it is, you really get an air of desperation for it, and it's just beautiful. I mean, with the vocals coming in, ba, 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 beautiful at the end. And then you've got, well, really, WildFlow's the whole second side. WildFlow's Looking at Tomorrow, Day in the Life of a Tree, Till I Die Then. I'm a leaf on a windy day, pretty soon I'll be blown away. How long will the wind blow? How long will the wind blow? I lost my way. Hey, hey, hey. I mean, this is like one of the deepest, heaviest things of Brian's communication here at this time. Just astonishing. And then, of course, Surfs Up from the Smile sessions at the end. If you want to see everybody's watched the CBS documentary that they played when they had Leonard Bernstein on there talking about how complicated it was and how beautiful it is. This, of course, is a copy I got. It's a promo copy. But, yeah, man. Heavy stuff. We're in the really life-changing moments here, and these are all 4.5 stars to me. I've got at number 8, I've got Beach Boys All Summer Long. I Get Around, Hushabye, Little Honda, Wendy, Girls on the Beach, Drive-In, Don't Back Down. I mean, yeah, just solid as a freaking rock. Anything with I Get Around on it, Little Honda, All Summer Long. I mean, this is great. Yeah, there are some throwaways with this, but this stuff is so strong it has to be in the top 10, and that's where I have it. I have it at number 8. Let's go now to a surprise to some people, maybe. I don't know if it's a surprise to some people, but it's always been one of my favorite records, and it's 1977's The Beach Boys Love You. Yes, recorded with Earl Mankey and recorded with Stephen Moffat, and he would come in every day and Brian would lay it down. This is the second record. After 15 big ones, they decided to go back. Brian decided to go back and do things himself. And when you really got to hear what Brian was all about, some weird records came out, some really weird songs, and real juxtapositions of time. like Brian was kind of an adult child, as they say. That's why they said that, adult child. But the themes of these songs kind of have that. And you can see various videos on YouTube about the bizarreness of this record. Yes, it is. But this record is lovely. I remember discovering it in a cutout bin or something somewhere. I didn't really get into the vinyl of that until around when I got to Georgetown, when it really bowled me over. I said, "Oh my God, what's the deal here?" And when I heard this, you kind of put up a front to start with, of a bizarre front that you had to penetrate to get through. But the songs in this solar system, The Night Was So Young, I'll Bet He's Nice, Airplane, I Want to Pick You Up. I mean, even though the lyrics are bizarre, Johnny Carson, Solar System, Honking Down the Highway. Man, I love this record. There's something about this album. He played everything. Very synthesized. It's very interesting that in 1976, you get a record from the Beach Boys, and it was literally one of the most synth records ever made. At 1976, this was a really synthetic record, and it was just bizarre. Number one, that Brian would be coming back like this and doing it this way to start with. But on top of that, then you've got the synth end to it, and he wants to do everything himself, and that's how they ended up doing that. And it made in for a wonderful, incomparable record that nobody else will ever hear. I love it. It's called Love You. I'm at 4.5 stars with that, and I'm going to be the same thing here with this one, Friends. One of my favorite quiet moments of the Beach Boys. This record, released in 1968, really associated with the Maharishi and meditation, and meant to be that kind of a theme with the song Friends. Wake the World, Be Here in the Morning, Passing By. Oh, just something else. Honestly, the Healer. It almost sounds like they're being quiet. Deliberately. Little Bird, beautiful. Little Bird, just nice songs. And Transcendental Meditation. Diamond Head, almost like Diamond Head is an instrumental. And I would say if there's anything on here that's probably a throwaway, it's that. But one of the most stunning songs is the two songs from the end, Busy Doing Nothing, when Brian basically releases a tour through his day. It is quite something. Nevertheless, it's incomparable. Thank you to Jerry from Orpheus Records down on M Street for turning me on to this years ago, and I never turned back, man. I was a big fan from that period on. And let's move on to the next record from 1969, which I have as number 5, and that is the 2020. Beautiful 2020 record. You see the picture on the front doesn't have Brian on it, whether Brian's through the whole thing. And then you see Brian in here with the eye chart inside. One of these inside things here, which I don't like. I don't like the sleeves. They went through a period of time. RCA did a bunch of records like that. But yeah, interesting. It came in here. This is a rainbow. I'm not going to pull it out. I hate this. In fact, let me take it out of here. But anyway, what am I going to say here? What am I going to say with 2020 and the track listing? Just completely stunning. Time to Get Alone. Our Prayer. You've got the Dennis Wilson, Charles Manson, Never Learn Not to Love, Evanescence from Smile. The Nearest Faraway Place, probably the best instrumental Bruce Johnson ever did. I Went to Sleep in Time to Get Alone, Back to Back or Kill. Our Prayer, fantastic. Do It Again, a great single. Be With Me, one of the best Dennis songs, just gorgeous. My wife used to laugh at those songs. Those lyrics are going out tonight. You put your real cool looking clothes on. She liked those lyrics. All I Want to Do is the fast. A little different from All I Want to Do is a Mike Love thing. This is a Dennis song. The up tempo one. Yeah, just superior record. This record was done at the end. It was released to a complete. All these records in the late 60s, people didn't give a damn about it at the time, and they were making history, making some of the best music ever. I mean, these songs, there's nothing like it. When you put Time, I Went to Sleep, and Time to Get Alone back to back, that's great. And then on the same record, you've got Evanescence, and it's just astonishing. That's number 5. Now let's look at what became of the great Project Smile, which is the bunt of, they say, of Smiley Smile, which you can say was released in 1967 at the beginning, or sometime at the beginning. Reduced versions of Vegetables. We've all heard the Smile versions, and these are the Paranoid in the Swimming Pool Giggling on Hash versions. Which She's Going Bald is really funny, is really great. Little Pat is really good too. And when they were singing the ukulele, it's amazing how they do the they don't go by the tempo. That's the joke. I mean, they don't go by this. There's so many little jokes like that. Of course, Good Vibrations on here, which is fully developed, which sounds so weird with the rest of it. But With Me Tonight, Wind Chimes, Wonderful Whistling. It sounds like it was all done at their home. They were having a good time. They were stoned, and the smile that you send out returns to you in Indian wisdom. We've got, of course, the version of Heroes and Villains too, which is great. Here is the version. Do I have the one with the little? Is the little worm on here? Yeah. There's one that has a little worm on here. Is this Venezuela? I think one of them. I'm not sure. One of these. But this is a mono copy, and it's got the little worm. Some have the worm, some don't. That shows you how nuts I am about collecting. Let's get into the Stone Cold 5-star records, and I'm going to start with 1970s Warner Brothers attempt to really do something special, and that is Sunflower. Slip on through this whole world. Add some music to your day. Deirdre, It's About Time. Tears in the Morning. The best song, All I Want to Do, Brian Wilson, Mike Love, but just really, really great. Forever, Dennis Wilson, Our Sweet Love, At My Window, Cool, Cool Water. I mean, there's not a weak moment. The whole second side of this is fabulous. And there's really just a short place in the first side where it's slightly waning. It has a little statement from Mo Austin. I know they had meetings and all kind of things about this record. They really wanted to break it. Here are the pictures that they did. And unfortunately, it did not do well, and it is ridiculous. It is one of the great records. How they didn't get it across to the public, how the public didn't see, album-oriented rock was happening at that time, and this is a hit with that. It's really not a singles type of a thing. And I think that was part of the confusion. They were a singles band. They were a band that was driven for that, and they're entering the market of albums, and it's just not the same thing. And it failed, and it's a shame because it's one of the great records ever. We got number 2 at this point. We're down to number 2, and I've only got a couple more left, and you know what it's going to be. It's going to be the Great Beach Boys Today from 1965. Do you want to dance? Good to my baby. Don't hurt my little sister. When I grow up to be a man. This is when they really turned the corner. This is a corner turn. This is the time when the writing took off. Please Let Me Wonder. She Knows Me Too Well in the back of my mind. It's really, some people, I have some friends, some good friends that say this is their favorite. This is their favorite Beach Boys record, that second side. It's really hard to argue. I mean, She Knows Me Too Well, the back of my mind, Kiss Me Baby, just fantastic. But anyway, that's my number 2. This is a mono copy of the same, the Beach Boys Today. And now number 1, everybody knows what it is. Dun, 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 dun. Since I can't count Smile, it's going to be Pet Sounds, and it's going to be from 1966. And God only knows. I know there's an answer. The great I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, and Caroline No. That's greatness on another level. And it's hard to say that's ever been topped anytime. That the end of that. I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, and Caroline No, and God Only Knows on the same side. Wow, wouldn't it be nice? You Still Believe in Me. That's Not Me. Let's Go Away for a While, Sloop John B. Just superb. Great record. I told you I'd show you the other one that was released, and I left it here. This is why. Oh, I didn't have it before. Here's the standalone version of the one that I said was on the back of Carl and the Passions. This was actually released in the U.S. too with a different back. But it's the same record, of course, released in 1972. But that's it. That's the Beach Boys. This has been long enough, folks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it took on so long. I really left out a lot of stuff to be able to do this. But at the same time, I know it's a long catalog, and Brian Wilson has always been one of my favorites. And it's a shame he's in the shape he is now, but we'll always have this great music. And I think it's music everybody will be able to draw upon. I can't think of another, at least personally, that's had more of an impact on me harmonically. I recognized it early on. As I told you all, one of my first singles ever bought was Breakaway. I knew there was something special happening. But anyway, I thank you a lot for getting through this with me here tonight. And we wish you all a happy 4th of July, a belated happy 4th of July, because by the time you'll see this. Then anyway, we'll see you next time. Make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and leave any comments you have down below. Thanks a lot. We'll check you next time.